чужим діткам дулі-дулі.
Happy Meridian, everybody. Let's talk liquidity pools. I've got Anthony Barker. We're going to explore the DEX a little bit. I'm excited. It should be a good show. Hopefully everybody gets to learn a little something. Hello, world. Hey, what's going on, Anthony? How you doing today? Happy Meridian week.
Yes, happy Meridian, Sam. How'd you like the conference so far?
I mean, so far it's been great. You know, I mean, that video of the demo watching MoneyGram being transferred from a Lobster wallet to any location throughout the United States using MoneyGram was pretty impressive. I was actually surprised that they made it that far, to be honest with you. So, you know, hats off to them.
Yeah, hats off to them. I don't know if the market was listening because the price went down today.
That's why I love having you on the show. We got to talk about it from the trading aspect of things. But to be fair, it seems like most of the market has gone down. It's been pretty dismal, but possibly some buying opportunities, as I like to always say. It's a fire sale. We were when you hopped on, Tomar was speaking, and pretty exciting stuff. SpeedX was mentioned. Also, some of their other functions. What were your thoughts on SpeedX?
I mean, I started watching the technical video yesterday. I didn't get through it, and I explored the GitHub. The guy who's writing it is a student of David at Stanford. Looks like a super bright guy, and any kind of new trading I think is great. I'm happy with AMMs. This batch-based trading, I think it's super cool. I mean, new trading styles bring new opportunity, right?
Right. Before we jump into the presentation, really excited to go through it. What is your overall opinion? You said you're pretty much pleased overall with AMMs. Is that fair to say?
I mean, AMMs are, like they said at the conference, it's an easy way to make a little bit of money by taking your tokens that you have in your wallet, putting it into the AMM, and getting some additional yield out of them without having to lend them at some sketchy place. You can put them on the liquidity pool, and no one can take them from you. So it's safe. You can do it yourself. It's decentralized. So I think it's great. If you look at Uniswap, it's totally taken off. They had billions of dollars traded. At one point, they passed even Binance in terms of volumes traded in the liquidity pools. So
wow.
So I think for Stellar, it's great, and it's not the best for it's a tool. So you got to find the right place to use it, and we're going to explore that. We're going to explore a little bit of the math, the risks, where you can make some money, I'm going to try and show a little bit of the math because in order to really get into it, you kind of need to understand what's happening behind the scenes. And hopefully by the end, I'm hoping you'll walk away from this session with having a firmer grasp of what it's all about. Sam?
Oops, where we go here? Let's see. Here we go. Let's see here. You had it back up. We'll go back to it.
Sorry about that. It's an internet blip.
So let's go ahead and see if we can go ahead and bring this up here. Boom, there we go.
You saw that one panelist had a power outage in Argentina. It's a little bit less.
Really? Yeah. Now we got someone here who love to look at that. I love it. I want to see some math. So don't be too shy with your math.
Okay.
We got yeah, we got to please Marty, man. All right, so your agenda here looks pretty interesting here. Go ahead.
So we're going to look at, what is an AMM or liquidity pool, just for people who don't know what it is. Hopefully you leave this knowing what a boundary curve is. You don't have to be able to describe it. And you'll know what Stellar uses. What are the risks when you're trading a liquidity pool in Stellar? And how much money do you think you can make? What's a good way of finding trading opportunities? And then some of the limitations of Stellar versus Uniswap v3 or Curve. And then
Awesome.
some of the benefits and why Stellar might be better, in fact. And then we'll do a quick demo.
Great. All right, let's go.
So if you think about hydraulic press, you got two pumps here. And when you push down on this one pump, the other pump goes up. So this is the math that basically is behind an AMM or liquidity pool. Automatic market makers are kind of decentralized exchange, and they allow you to do permissionless trading of assets. Unlike the normal DEX where you trade when I put an order in the order book, you're actually trading against me. With an AMM, you're actually trading against the AMM. And when you put the two tokens into the AMM, you get back a share or liquidity token that represents your portion of the overall two assets. Now in Stellar, it's always two assets. Some of the other AMMs have got different models where there can be three or four. In Stellar, they went with the vanilla version of that looked like Uniswap v2, which is two assets. You always have to have, so if you're going to trade XLM and USDC, you have to have equal amounts of USDC and XLM to get started. And then basically, the price is the ratio of the two assets. So you have an asset A and an asset B, and that it's always going to be equivalent. So they're gonna look at each other. They're gonna balance it out. So we're going to look at a couple of examples here. I really like this model here with the Uniswap model, where they show the number of ETH and DAI over time, and you can see this is the balance. This is the curve, and the price is always the ETH, the DAI divided by the ETH. So it's going up, and here you can see the returns. So it's spiked up, including the uni token supply. So people are making like 20% typically on the ETH DAI trade, and this is over a couple of years. So I think we're going to see something very similar to this because we're using the same this line here, this sort of line which is the ratio between asset A and asset B. This is called the bonding curve. And you can see here they're using exactly the same ratio, which is A times B equals K. So this is another example which you can sort of pop in some ETH and DAI again, and you can see the bonding curve and how much you would get of each. So if you put in 2,000 DAI and 1 ETH, and the price is 2,000 DAI, and you've put in 2,000 DAI, you're going to get this share, which is the constant of the overall pool, and you can sort of see with this map how much money you're going to make or lose. So we'll get into this a little bit more in detail later, but just understand that this line here, which is the ratio of asset A versus asset B, is how much money you've made, and this is called the curve.
Very good, very good. And I think that's definitely a great breakdown there. And yeah, absolutely. I'm on. This will be available, so you can watch this at any time you want to go back and kind of relook at everything. So without a doubt.
And then what we'll do is we'll put links to these demo apps, so you can actually go and plug in your own numbers and see what it does. The best way I found figuring it out how it works is just actually to play with the demos, and even go into Stellar Testnet and do some trades.
Yeah,
So
and and on the Stellar Testnet, I think that's a tool that a lot of people don't take fully advantage of. So I'm glad you brought that up.
yeah, so this is an example of with John. This is a physical example. John, he's got $500 in XLM, and he's got 500 USDC, and the price of XLM is trading at roughly 25 cents.
Hey, stop depressing me. All right, we're at 33. Let's not. Let's not.
We're talking a long time ago now. This is
All right.
historical.
Okay, great. All right, great. Got nervous there.
So total value is $1,000. If you look at what he's putting in, which is 2,000 XLM and 500 USDC. There's some good news. Liquidity Pools is killing it. In December, it goes up to 50 cents. So if he just kept the tokens, he would have $1,500, because basically XLM has doubled in price and the USDC has stayed at $1. However, this is the impermanent loss thing that they talk about. And with a liquidity pool, if he withdraws, he would have a little bit less XLM, because it would have traded along this curve, and you would have lost you wouldn't have lost money, because you'd still be up 41%. But you would have earned a little bit less. You'd be earned 5.72% less than you would have if you just held the assets. Now, if it stayed within the range of, pretty close to 25 cents or 30 cents, and the volume was decent, you'd be making, 10 or 20%, 10 or 20% annualized on return, and you wouldn't have lost the 5%. So you could have made that up either in the trading fees that you got, which is 30.3% or 300 basis point, 0.3%, or you could have made it up, so you, in theory, you might not have lost this 5% depending on the period of time. So that's what an impermanent loss is. I'm going to quickly show you an example of a calculator that I've put together, which shows, first off, what it would look like. So you've got your 25 cents. This is in Python. It's this thing called Jupyter Notebook. It's a simulator for constant value bonds. So essentially, what would happen to the price in different scenarios. So you could see, and then there's the second question, is just slippage. So if you have 2,500 in the pool, and someone trades, say, 100 XLM, the slippage is going to be pretty high. It's going to be 10%. You're going to get that back as the person who put in the money in the liquidity pool, not as the trader of the liquidity pool. You'd be losing this versus using a centralized exchange. But as a liquidity pool holder, the price can go in and out, and you can actually make money trading the liquidity pool, because the price can be completely different what the price is on Binance or the price on the normal DEX. And here we're showing, if I provide liquidity, you can actually push the price. If you provide a whole bunch of liquidity as well, you can actually push the price a little bit as well. Here's showing the curve. Again, on that model of XLM to US dollars. And then finally, we're going to look a little again at the impermanent loss. So if in that example, we had 2 times, the XLM went up double. So in theory, you'd lose about 5%, 5.72%. But again, you could make that up in the fees that you've been getting for every
Mm-hmm.
trade. And you can make money on other, like the Aqua token, if they start giving that away, or other tokens that they might give you for providing liquidity.
Gotcha.
But on the flip side, if the price went by half, you're not losing as much, right? XLM's gone in half, you're only losing 5%. So you can see that it's sort of a moderated amount. You're earning a little bit less, but your also potential to lose is a little bit less as well.
Right. So that risk isn't as high. Makes sense.
Yeah. So again, liquidity pools make a lot of sense for assets that tend to do this sort of reversion to the mean, where they go back to roughly the same price. They're not super volatile. So, have you traded that YBX token on Stellar yet?
No, I haven't traded it, but I've definitely been involved, with the test net, and I think it's a phenomenal product. It should be going live, I think beginning mid-December, actually, December
Right. Well,
15th.
that's one I noticed. I was checking it out yesterday, and they don't have a liquidity pool on it, and
Right. That's
it
for a reason.
doesn't make sense. There's a reason.
Not yet. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not yet. Not yet. Not
Well,
yet. I
because
think.
it's been going up like a rocket, so that's not a good that wouldn't be a very good one for liquidity pool in my mind.
Right. 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 I
Liquidity
think. Yeah.
pool
Once
would
it
be
goes
really good.
live, I think it'll be there.
Yeah, it would be like any of the stable tokens on Stellar, like the NGNT, the EuroT, the ARST, the Brazilian Real. All these ones would make a lot of sense in terms of doing liquidity pool, simply because they're not going to fluctuate. You won't get, and typically within a month or a week, you're not going to get a double or a triple
Hmm.
of the US dollar against, unless there's a war or something like that. But in most cases, you're not going to see one currency going up double against the other very quickly.
Right. Right.
Um, there's some quick math. It just shows you, you know, in general, HODL is better on something like YBX, which is going up like crazy. I noticed it passed a dollar, I think. Did it pass? It passed the XLM price. Did you see
Oh, that
the?
was a long time ago.
Yeah, I saw it was at 42 or 45. I don't know. Um, but anyway, it's been rocketing up. So again, you would not do as well in a liquidity pool with that one versus just hodling it.
Right.
Um,
And so, like in a pool, you would want to really look at, and I guess we'll get into that when you look at some real examples. But
yep.
the trading volume would be very important because
Yeah.
those fees. I mean, that's how you make your money through the fees.
Exactly. Exactly. So you're getting it. It's pretty. So again, for highly liquid tokens that trade a lot,
Mm-hmm.
that tend to go back to the average, this liquidity pools are amazing. The only two caveats right now in the Ethereum world, what these guys do is they'll take the liquidity, they'll take the token, the shares, and you can actually lend out the shares on Aave, and then actually take and get, like, maybe with YBX we'll be able to do this, but you can
Mm-hmm.
actually take the shares and then lend them out and get more money back, and then buy more. So it's basically like leveraging your position. So that's
Nice.
a way of getting additional yield with YBX. If they do allow this, um, you'll be able to get additional yield, because you can take your USDC. Let's pick a USDC USDT. pretty safe one.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to go too crazy, and you could actually take that and then borrow against it at 60%. So if you put $10,000 in, you can borrow maybe $400 or $600 and then put it back in again
Okay.
to leverage it up. Um, so yeah, you need to look at the volume. The volume is your key when you're looking at the trading. So I'll jump over to Stellar X real quick just so we can look at some of the volumes. I really like this liquidity. What do they have? Analytics here. This is a test account, so I'm not showing too much of information. So you can see that the keys for making money are picking something that's got high volume
Mm-hmm.
and not so much liquidity. So what you want to do is basically look at how much volume there is versus how much liquidity there is. And if there's higher volume as a ratio compared to liquidity, that would be a good LP to be in. And it's not too volatile. So it's like these three things you need to look at. So the nice thing they have here is they calculate the fees, yearly fees you'd be earning.
Now,
And
some
you'll
of these
see
fees
that,
are just ridiculously high. I mean, it's like, is that realistic? I mean,
well, I think it is, and here's why.
okay.
These first off, look how much liquidity it has. It is 38 cents, and it's been trading at $17. So basically, the pool's turned over. I don't know,
Can you
a
zoom
lot.
into that a little bit? Can you zoom into that a
Okay,
little bit on your screen?
sure. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So these ones are all have super low liquidity. So you're not gonna like. They're kind of like off the top because there's not a lot in the pool, and they've been traded a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you'd go through and pick something that you like, a token that you like, uh, and then pick a pair where there's good volumes and not too much liquidity compared to the volume traded.
Mm.
So I mean, Aqua's doing pretty well here. I mean, it's their two own tokens, but
Hmm.
it's been traded 60,000 the past 7 days, and there's 23,000 in the pool. So it's turned
Yeah. So
over three
who's
times.
ever, yeah, whoever has a lot of money in there is making out pretty well right now.
Yeah, they're making 36%
Wow.
yearly. And then again, I think Aqua might probably, I'm guessing they'll probably give you tokens at some point for providing liquidity. And there's the BTCLN. Someone's trading it for HODL, whatever
I've
that is.
Yeah, I've heard people wanting, talking about BTCLN and wanting to have more liquidity pools. I know that's one of your toys there, so be
Yep.
interested in.
Well, what we're going to try to, the main thing for me is to try and make sure that it's all 100% backed, and we don't want to create any tokens that aren't backed 100% by Bitcoin. So it's sort of it's a balancing act on issuing too many. So let's jump back to the presentation. So we talked about you can see, as you've seen, like 6%, 80%. It's a good way of making some additional money on your tokens. And I mentioned that it's risk free in terms of no one can take your funds from you. The only risk is if one of the tokens you're trading doubles or goes in half, you're going to lose about 5%
Okay.
compared to you're going to make 5% in savings. You'll lose less, 5% less, and you'll make 5% less if it doubles. So Stellar AMs. The other thing that I found trading them is that it's interesting when you're trading them. We've got, I think, Stellar's the only one where AMMs are now native. I mean, in all the other
Yeah.
blockchains, it's done using a smart contract. So that means in some ways they're more solid, and it means that basically in Stellar's world, it's harder to front run when you're doing a deposit or withdrawal or doing a trade. Harder to front run than in Ethereum, particularly. So what they do in
So for
Ethereum
so
is,
yeah, so for a
yeah,
lot of
go ahead.
people that don't understand what front running is, what do you mean by that?
So with all these other blockchains, Stellar, when a block goes in, you settle. You don't have to wait for 5 blocks or 10 blocks. With Bitcoin, as you probably know, most exchanges want you to wait for 3 blocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same essentially for Ethereum. You have to wait for a certain number of blocks before it's considered 100% settled. So what these flash bots do is they'll look for trades that have too little fees, and they'll put a higher fee, and they'll front run the other trade, and then they'll sell it back. So they'll look for larger trades that haven't paid enough fees, and then they'll get their trade ahead of the other person's trade. And particularly if there's not a lot of liquidity in the pool, they can push the price up a lot. Like we saw, you can push a price if it's a small pool of a few $1,000s. With even a couple $100 trade, you can push the price quite a bit. The trade comes in, the guy gets a bad price unless he's got some, depending on the 5 or 10% slippage, he'll have slippage, and then the flash bot will then sell it back. And the second thing they do is the miners can do essentially the same thing. They identify trades that are going into Ethereum or these other blockchains, and they'll actually do this thing called an MEV attack, which is they'll identify the trades and they'll basically slow down the trades because they're the ones approving the blocks. They're the ones approving the trades. They'll slow down the trades and let in ones that they want. This is specifically for big trades. I don't think this happens on, $5 trades, but on 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 trades, they can put. We've seen that they can extract roughly 1% off the trade. So what are Stellar's limitations? Stellar's limitations, because it's the first iteration, we got a couple small ones. You have to have 2 assets. And a couple of the other newer liquidity pools, you can if you just had, say, XLM, you could deposit just the XLM.
Mm-hmm.
In Stellar, you always have to have the 2 things you're trading. You have to have equal amounts. So again, if you're trading USDC and XLM, you'd have to have equal amounts of USDC and XLM. If you're trading USDC against BTCLN, you'd have to have equal amounts of both and deposit them at the same time. So if you don't have that, the question happens, I want to trade. Happened to me a couple times in either PancakeSwap or Uniswap. I wanted to trade one token for another, but I didn't have the other token. So you
Mm-hmm.
actually have to do a trade. You go to Uniswap and you trade USDC for USDT on Uniswap, and then you'd have equal amounts of both, and then you could deposit them. So you have to do a trade beforehand to get the 2 assets if you only have one. So you could do that trade anywhere. It could be on Binance or another exchange, but you have to have the 2 assets. The fees are fixed at 0.3%. They've talked about changing that in the future, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
so-called constant value curve, where I showed you here that it's following this ratio. That basically, if A goes up, then B is going down, and then the K has to be constant. There's a couple of very good videos if people want to see the math of the whole thing, done by some student at University in Singapore. I can
Okay.
include that in the show notes if you really want to dig into the math. So let's just quickly have a quick look at. Did you have any questions so far?
No, I mean I think you've answered the ones that I've had.
Okay. Let's jump back and have a quick look at Stellar X. So I think Stellar X, I've tested at LumenSwap, Stellar Port, and who else has it? Does anyone else have AMMs?
Have the AMMs? Yeah, those are the 3 that
I
I'm
think it's those
aware of.
3. Yeah, and you could also do it programmatically by yourself. I've done that as well. I like Stellar X's model. They're pretty good. They've made it quite easy to use. A lot of other ones allow you to do swaps. So you
Mm-hmm.
can actually, in Lobster, when you do a swap, it's
Mm-hmm.
going against the LPs, it's going against liquidity pools, as well
Okay.
as the normal decks. And the
Okay.
liquidity pools get preference, though. So if there are liquidity pools up there and the normal decks, the liquidity pool typically wins. That's what my experience was. Um, so I really like this little pool, and you can see the number of people who've contributed to a liquidity pool. That's members. Um, it's early days, and then you can actually do a trade. Um, so when you do a swap, that's using the liquidity pool, and then if you want to provide liquidity, um, so you're getting 0.3 on all trades,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to put in a proportional amount. So I put in these three liquidity pools, just sort of test money. I did.
Okay.
I created one for Euro tokens and USDT. I think I was the first one to provide anything, and it was at I think 113.5. I think the euro is trading one at 13.5 cents more than the dollar. So I had to put in 13.5 more USDT than I put in euros.
Yeah. One thing I guess when Felix just commented, um, Stellar X doesn't have support for Treasure, so Stellar X might want to think about adding that. Stellarport does have Treasure, so good. Good to
Nice.
know. Good to know. Good to
Good to
know.
know. Good to
Yeah,
know.
I
Yeah,
want to say
Stellar.
Stellar X. Stellar
Yeah.
X has the ledger attached to it. Um,
Yes.
you had mentioned something about when you use Lumen Swap. I think regards to slippage. What were you describing about that?
So in well, let's just go through the example here, and then I'll talk about the
Okay.
slippage.
Okay.
So if I went through and I want to put in, say I want to put in one more euro, do I have enough? I don't think I have enough. This is my test account. I don't have enough here. Let's see what I can put in. I can put in 50 cents. All right. So the good thing that they do that I really like is they calculate how much you have to put in of each. So you don't have to figure it out. You can just put in one and then calculates the other one.
Okay.
In Stellarport, unfortunately, you got to kind of know the ratios, so it doesn't
Mm,
automatically calculate it for you. Um, and then if you click increase liquidity, so see they've set if the price changes by more than 0.5%, your transaction will revert. So this is protecting you against like front running or the price
right.
moving too crazily for you. I'm just doing a quick trade. That 0.5. The issue with Lumen Swap is that they've put that at 10%, which I think
Mm,
is too high. Um, so here's the trade. It went in. Again, it's always ratio. So I couldn't put more of a ratio than is in the pool, than was originally put in the pool, and it's always locked to this constant. So if you look at Stellar Expert, they don't have a lot of information yet on the pools. I
mm-hmm.
noticed they just sort of show the pool, um, but they show that I put in roughly 50 cents. And when you submit your tokens to the pool, it actually calculates the ratio for you, based on the status of the liquidity pool at that time, and it has to keep that A times B equals K. So again, it's
Okay.
it's always got to keep in that same ratio. So I mean that's a trade. We're done. I mean, you got your fees. It doesn't look that much different from anything else on Stellar, but you've got my funds in the pool. I go back to Stellar X. You can see that it's now increased slightly.
Mm-hmm.
and it's me. If anyone else wants to put in USDT or EURT and test it out, I'm not 100%. I'm the 100% owner of this a small liquidity
You are
pool.
the master now.
The master. This is a good one though, because the dollar and the euro doesn't change too much, and like it won't go up and down. The euro and the dollar are not going to go double.
Right.
Uh, whereas I don't know about Aqua BTCLN. Aqua could go crazy, or Bitcoin could go up or down. Who knows? Um, let's look at this one. I put in some XLM and Euro T. Yeah, I've got a minuscule part of this one. So you can see there's 8 pool members. I pulled in like 1 XLM and zero 0.3 Euro T,
Mm-hmm.
and I got 0.15% of that thing. Let's try and remove the liquidity there. Let's see how that works. So I'm going to remove half my liquidity. So it should be removing, half, 1/4 of an XLM and equivalent amount. There we go. Liquidity was removed. There we are. So you can see the shares, which is a
Right.
percentage of the overall pool. So it's always, the shares in Stellar's world is the K. That's the constant. And then here's but they actually, shares is what you own of that liquidity pool. It's not necessarily the constant. The constant is the number of XLM in the pool times the amount of Euro T in the pool. So I wanted to show you one last thing before we run away. Where are we going to go?
And so, and as you have like multiple liquidity pools going on, and you want to say, like let's say for instance, one's not performing too well, you're not really getting the fees, and you want to transfer to something else. What should you be looking at to make those decisions? Is there
You
something that's calculating how much you're generating from each pool?
Well, it's all based on volume. So the trick that Stellar is it's a little bit tricky, because I'm going to jump back to Stellar X. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I go to the market here and I look at the bid and offer, say, let's go XLM USDC. Fiat. Yeah. So you can see the bid and offer on the spread. Uh, yeah. Here is the offer price, and here's the person wants to buy. You can see that it's pretty tight.
Right.
And the liquidity pool price may not be the same. It may not be inside this price, in which
Mm-hmm.
case, if it's a small path payment, it's not going to hit that liquidity pool. But there's some market makers who are pushing that liquidity pool around, and it would be really nice to be able to see, right, like if it was right here, to have a line, or up here what the liquidity pool price is, because it's sort of hidden.
Right.
If I,
Right.
if I want to go see the liquidity pool price, the best thing for me right now is I have 2 windows open, and I have it open here and I have a price here, and I say, okay, what's 1 XLM? It's going to tell me, oh, it's 32 cents. And then I have to open up Stellar X on the other one. And okay, and then look at the swap. Whoop, there we are. Okay, yeah, where are you? Yes, so it's 3051. It's going fast, and right now we're at. Let me see here. Oh, that's sorry. I need to reverse the trade. So last trade was 32.7 cents,
Mm-hmm.
and that was through the liquidity pool, because that's the price there,
Right.
probably. because the price is the same. But the issue is if the price of the liquidity pool goes too far off the order book price, it gives way up here or way down here, unless the market maker moves it up, it won't get filled, and you won't be earning the fees. But I've noticed so far the market makers are doing a good job. I don't know if it's Ultra Stellar or who, but the price is pretty much staying. It's staying pretty accurate. There you go. 3.27 and 3.27. Yeah, it's trading around the same price. And again, when you look at the AMM pool, let's again dig into XLM USDC. Sorry, we're going so into depth here. I thought we'd be done by now, but it's good to see specifics on how it's being calculated. What is this doing? That's not showing me the. That's showing the liquidity pool. It's a chart. Okay, so how do I see the amount in it? Okay, so the price is the amount of dollars. It shows you exactly the price here. It's one divided by the other. So it's saying the price in XLM. If you divide XLM into USDC, it's giving you 32 cents. If you divide USDC into XLM, it's giving you 3.04. It's giving you a nice chart on the liquidity that's in the pool. It's showing you the trades.
Very good.
Yeah, they've done a really good job with this.
Yeah, it's real clean. It's definitely a really clean interface.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Sam, so is there any other questions, or was there any comments from the audience?
All right, great. Thank you, Mr. T. I went silent there, but yeah, definitely, man. It was great. I think that if folks have any questions, please definitely go to the Stellar Global Discord. You can hang out there. We have a AMM channel and also a DEX channel that's really focused on utilizing these tools. A lot of times, the main use case that you hear about is remittances, but ultimately everything that's here does affect, does play a role in all those other use cases as well. Because liquidity is the heart of it.
And for me, if you've got XLM and they're just sitting in a wallet somewhere, they're dead XLM. No one's using them. Why not put them in a liquidity pool and help the network by adding liquidity to Stellar? It's going to help the network, help people use it. So don't hide all your XLM. You can hide some of them, but don't hide all of them under your bed.
Right, right, right. No, it helps us all. Helps us all. Thank you so much, Barker. If anyone has questions, definitely, like I said, hit us up. I hope this was very informative. And we'll definitely see you soon. Hang on a little bit, Barker. I'll see everybody later on. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.